Hey everybody, it's the Spartan Shadows podcast guys here. Selection Sunday is upon us. We have a bracket for the first time this year. It's glorious. March Madness is here. We want to get on and break it down for you. It's time to talk tournament, and we are very excited. Thanks for tuning in. Trying to get some rapid reactions out for you guys. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, Chris. I've got my co-host Zack and Emmett with me. We're here to talk all things MSU, the seeding, the bracket, and maybe a little of who we thought got in that shouldn't have, who we think should have got in that didn't. Some seeding drama, of course, like there always is. So we'll give you a little breakdown of everything. Guys, thanks for joining me. How are we feeling today?
Good. Can't really complain. I obviously love that it's March Madness. It finally feels real. We finally got a bracket. We got some pretty interesting first four games. We got some interesting teams that are in the field that honestly probably shouldn't be in the field, but maybe a little bit of a name brand kind of help them get in the field, or maybe conference help them get in the field. It turns out 14 teams in the SEC. Oh, wait. Is that 15? No, it's actually 14 SEC teams in the field. No breaking news there, but yeah, can't complain too much. Don't mind our draw. We'll get into more of that here shortly. But how are you doing, Emmett?
I'm doing pretty good. Was very exciting to see Michigan State in the first region posted, because we have been waiting to see Michigan State basically for the last 3-4 years in a row. Take out COVID, and I think it's probably 6, 7, 8 years at this point. It feels like It feels like every year Michigan State's in the fourth region revealed. This year they were the first region revealed. Always great to see that, and then instantly get to go and have my dinner instead of getting to wait it out and just anxiously pace. So can't complain about that. Little bit nervous seeing that Auburn is the 1 seed in the region, but we expected this. Everybody knew that no matter what, there's good odds you're going to be facing an SEC team as your 1 seed in the... You get what? SEC or Duke? So overall, just glad to see the Spartans getting, like Zach said, a pretty favorable first-round matchup, in my opinion. Chris, how do you feel?
Yep, and let's get right into it. The bracket, we are in the South region. Overall, I think it could have been worse, especially the way things were kind of trending towards the Big Ten tournament weekend. I know there was talk about MSU potentially having the chance to play themselves into a 1 seed if they were to do that. Some of the teams that were kind of lurking around the 7, 8, 9 range and all in between. Some of those matchups aren't necessarily great for MSU. Thankfully, that didn't seem to be the case. Hindsight's 2020, kind of looking at the way the bracket went through. I don't think there was a shot, no matter what games we won or what we did, for us to play ourselves into a 1 seed. So I'll take the extra day.
Yeah, it turns out the Big Ten tournament doesn't really matter to the committee anymore.
Everyone had been saying all week, the Big Ten tournament doesn't matter. Michigan, frankly, I'll be honest, got jobbed by that. Michigan played their way into, I would say, the 4 seed line. I'll flat out say that. We are an MSU podcast, and I'll flat out say Michigan should be a 3 or a 4.
Yeah, and that was after a lot of back and forth on the social medias the last day or so, after, MSU happens to go out in the semifinals, and then all the Michigan fans come out of the woodwork and saying how the Big Ten tournament's the most important thing in the world and it matters to everybody. Yeah, clearly it doesn't, because the selections committee has no care in the world that you just won a championship. Congrats to you. You're still a 5 seed, and you're seeded probably in the worst region for you. They've got kind of a tough draw. Coincidentally, they are in our region, so if they happen to take out, probably, I don't know, in my opinion, they got the best 12 seed. They have the potential to play a really good 4 seed, or probably the best 13 seed. And then, ho-hum, you get through that to the Sweet 16, you're probably going to have to play Auburn. So Michigan, if they get to an Elite 8 and have to play us or maybe another team, they will have earned it to get that far. That is for sure. But to give you kind of a rundown of the full South region, Auburn is your 1 seed. We're the 2 seed. The 3 seed is Iowa State. 4 seed is Texas A&M. 5 seed Michigan, as we mentioned. 6 seed Ole Miss. 7 seed, where are we at? Marquette. 8 seed Louisville. 9 seed Creighton. 10 seed New Mexico. 11 seed has the play-in game between San Diego State and North Carolina. Yep, I was looking at that one.
Fraudulent teams that somehow made the tournament. Anyway, continue on.
I can't believe North Carolina snuck in, but they're in a play-in game somehow. Zach, what were you going to say?
No, I just said, yep. Honestly, the one thing I do feel all right for, obviously North Carolina did not deserve to be in the tournament, but I don't feel awful for, I think it was Withers was his last name. if that's the way you miss the NCAA tournament, like I don't know if you will ever kind of be like, can you ever forgive yourself for that?
Yeah, that'd be rough.
But I feel better for him so that he didn't have to experience that. So didn't
Yeah.
deserve it, but hey, it didn't cost you.
For those who aren't sure what we're talking about, North Carolina had Duke. They had came back in the ACC semis, I think, from a lot down to pull within a couple points of with Duke. And they were shooting free throws to, I believe, tie. And North Carolina got called for a lane violation, which gave Duke the ball with a few seconds left. They were able to pull away and go ahead and win. But kind of would have been a tough end of the chances for the Dans for that player. So thankfully he's off the hook a little bit. But just to round out the rest of the bracket, Michigan will get the 12 seed UC San Diego, which I think is a really talented 12 seed. 13 seed Yale from the Ivy League, another really talented mid-major team. The 14 seed is Lipscomb, 15 seed Bryant, which is who MSU will play on Friday. And the 16 seed play-in is Alabama State versus St. Francis. Winner will get Auburn on their first round matchup. That's basically going to be the placeholder for who Auburn gets to beat in the first round. I don't think that's going to be the 16-1 upset, and it may happen this year. I don't think it's going to happen there. Actually, I don't think it's going to happen this year at all. But Tony Bennett has retired, so I think we're off the hook for 1 seeds for a little bit on the upsets.
Probably. It's at this point where you're like, hey, you made the tournament. Congratulations. You get one day, you get home. I'm sorry.
Yep. Take a vacation, enjoy the fun, like going to a bowl game for a week and enjoy and come back and hey, who knows? But yeah, so that's kind of the bracket. Michigan State will play Bryant on Friday. Their first game is in Cleveland. Bryant, they went 23-11. They're the American East champs. Top 20 in points per game on offense, so they do score well. They are bottom, I think, in the bottom third of the Division I in opponent points per game. Their strength of schedule was 327. They They run about a 7-man rotation just to kind of give you some depth projection. They do have 2 former top 100 recruits, Ja'Kai Robinson and Eddie Timberlake, Edward Timberlake, Earl Timberlake. Sorry, I knew it was an E. My bad, Earl. Timberlake is 6'6". He can really score. Ja'Kai Robinson is another
leading scorer and leading rebounder and leading in assists too for the team. So
yeah,
Timberlake
he's do everything. Yeah. Ja'Kai Robinson is another really talented kid, and then they have sharpshooter Rafael Pinzon. Shoots 38.5% from 3 and is roughly rounding up about a 90% free throw shooter. So he can really score as well. So there is some talent. That being said, I do like MSU to be able to probably, I would think, pull away in this game fairly easily. I'll get to your guys' breakdown too, of course. But I just think, on the surface level, I think MSU matches up pretty well with Bryant. And then, if they are to succeed and get through, they'd play the winner of the New Mexico Marquette 7-10 matchup, which honestly isn't the worst for MSU either compared to some of the other 7-10s from around the bracket. So yeah, we seem to have dodged some bullets. Projection, if we did get to the Sweet 16 and have a potential matchup with Iowa State, the 3 seed. It was announced just now one of their best players, Keyshawn Gilbert, is out for the tournament. So that could be a boost for Spartans if they do end up having a matchup against Iowa State. I don't know. That may not maybe even get them that far, but we'll see. Obviously you got to play the games. And at this point, anybody can beat anybody. I think MSU, all said and done, has a decent path moving forward. And then your most likely potential Elite 8 matchup would be Auburn. And then maybe if Michigan goes on a miraculous run, we can get a third time's the charm rematch. That's just kind of how I look at it. Interesting, of course, kind of run through. What do you think on this?
Yeah, so I think you did a good job of kind of breaking down the possible future matchups. Obviously, I think the one thing that we do have to say is take it game by game, like one game at a time. Don't look too far ahead. Obviously, it's kind of hard to do that right now because being the 2 seed, you're obviously going to be favored in every game that you're going to play, probably leading up to possible Elite Eight matchup with Auburn. Again, maybe Auburn doesn't get there. Maybe Auburn gets upset, or let's say Michigan gets there, and there's a Michigan State game headed to the Final Four. If that game ever did happen, that would be one of the most hyped but scariest games of probably our lives at that point. Because if you win, you go to a Final Four. If you lose, Michigan goes to a Final Four. So someone's hanging a banner either way in the state of Michigan at that point. So obviously that's way too far ahead, but this Bryant team, they don't, from what I've heard, they don't play a traditional five. They are bigger on the wings a little bit. Seems like they kind of play guys that are like 6'5" and above at the wings. So obviously we've played a couple of teams like that in the past that have given us issues. I would love to see Michigan State go kind of small in this game. Go a little bit of small ball. I do think Michigan State should be able to score quite a bit inside. I think this is kind of, and I was saying this before we started recording, I think this is kind of a Jeremy Fears, Jaden Akins, Jace Richardson, Owen Carr, and Jackson Kohler type game. Obviously, if you want to go the big lineup with two bigs, obviously you're going to be able to throw it kind of up and hope that either Carson Cooper or Simone Chappella just throws it down. I think they're going to be able to work inside. But if you are able to kind of run, able to kind of get past these bigger wings, I think this is a matchup that Michigan State should be able to win pretty easily, I would think. Bryant isn't necessarily the best three-point shooting team in the country. They kind of just like to, from at least one thing that I see, they kind of seem to like to kind of chuck up a little bit and maybe go chase offensive rebounds. Obviously, with the way Michigan State's been rebounding, especially with Jackson Kohler, I would hope that we're able to minimize offensive rebounds. There's been points this year where we haven't been. I do think that has a little bit more to do with kind of effort in those games at points. I don't think effort's going to be a question in this, or if it is, I think Izzo would probably fix that pretty quickly. But I think this is just kind of a game that you just need to kind of shorten down the bench quite a little bit. I think it should be probably an 8-9 man rotation, depending on kind of what happens if people get in foul trouble. Maybe kind of go to that 10-man rotation. But this is a game that I think you just need to figure out who's going to be the center. Can you go big? Is it going to be Carson Cooper, or are you going to have to go smaller with Jackson Kohler? I think either way works. It's just who's going to be better defensively. If Carson Cooper kind of has issues with pick and roll, which it really seems like they kind of had a couple of games, then go Jackson Kohler at that point. But not your typical mid-major team, but they're definitely going to be trying to go for those offensive rebounds, and Michigan State's going to have to take advantage of down low with either Carson Cooper or Jackson Kohler.
Yeah, I completely agree with most of what you said, Zach. The big concern is going to be that size on the wings. Michigan State loses a couple inches to them in terms of, with both your traditional point guards of Hallman and Fears both being in that 6'2" range. Akins is the top. Akins at 6'4", Richardson 6'3". This Bryant lineup is, their guards are massive and their bigs are small, looking at it, and I think if you can have Carson Cooper playing like he did against Wisconsin during the Big Ten tournament, it is going to be tough to beat, because if you can have Kohler at the 4, Cooper at the 5, you are going to have, those two might combine for 30-35 boards, and it is going to be almost impossible to beat a state team that has those two combining for 35 boards. Add in Cohen Carr having an 8-board game against Oregon in the opening round of the Big Ten tournament. It is going to be tough for Bryant. Bryant has played a couple tournament teams this year. They played Grand Canyon, who made the tournament as, I believe, a 15 or a 14 seed. And they also played St. John's. They averaged 20.5 turnovers in those two games. So they got sloppy with the ball. Obviously, that's non-conference. Bryant has taken off since those games. After the Grand Canyon loss, they are, I believe, 14-2. So this is a very good against their conference team. But then you look at some things like Delaware, who finished, I believe, 14-20 on the season. It was a 1-point victory for them. So they do not have they did not play out of conference very well. They have been hot in the conference. Timberlake and Pinzone have gotten double digits each of the last 5 games, and I believe between the two of them in those 10 combined games for both players. I believe there's 6 games over 20 points. So you have guards who can score, but they have not seen a defense like Michigan State's. They might have a size advantage, but good luck playing a fired up Fears, a fired up Holloman, fired up Akins, and a fired up Richardson. You can easily see the Spartans force 20, 25 turnovers. And I would say key to the victory, if the Spartans get 17 or more turnovers, they probably win by 20.
Yeah, this is going to definitely be a game where I think the transition play for MSU is going to really come in handy because, well, and the rebounding, like you guys had mentioned, if the bigs can get the rebounds quickly and start the pace up the floor, the guards are going to be able to run wild, I think, and wouldn't be surprised if you saw a few Cohen Carr acrobatics and some fast break points, and MSU will really want to try to get out and run because I think it can serve them really well. Grand Canyon just turned out they are a 13th seed and get Maryland in the first round out of the West bracket, just so you guys know.
Fun one to watch.
Yeah, so yeah, but no, I think it shapes up kind of favorably for MSU, like you guys said in the first couple. I'd be interesting to see some of the lineups. Maybe try to tinker with a few things if you get a lead and see what kind of works. And I know this week is spent kind of honing in some tactics and then trying to maybe refine some new wrinkles that you really haven't seen. Tom Izzo is one of the best at that, and kind of. I think Rick Pitino was the one on the selection show or right before it saying, teams now have 34 games of tape to watch how you operate. And so you want to make sure you're cleaning up the things that are going to stick and maybe try to learn some new wrinkles and throw some things that you haven't put on tape yet to some of these new teams. So it'll be interesting to see how the Spartans respond. I'm curious. Just kind of looking forward. I don't think I really got into the overall rest of the bracket. The other 1 seeds besides Auburn were Duke, Houston, and Florida. 2 seeds were Alabama, Tennessee, and St. John's were your other 2 seeds. So looking at that, like I said, I don't think MSU really had any shot of playing its way up to a 1. I don't think they were really going to be in any danger of falling to a 3. Maybe if we would have lost the first game, but I still don't think so, judging by how everything kind of transpired.
Big Ten tournament don't matter.
Yeah,
No.
Wisconsin even making their run, they're still locked into a 3. Iowa State kind of was locked into a 3. Who else we got? Texas Tech and Kentucky, who all kind of bowed out a little early in their tournaments too. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I think there's going to be some really good 5-12 matchups like there always are. Some pretty decent 4-13 matchups. Just kind of looking through. Purdue is a 4 seed in the Midwest and gets High Point. That could be something kind of interesting. I will say I do have Michigan circled as a potential upset in a 5-12, not just because I'm not a Michigan fan. This UC San Diego team can score, and they capitalize on turnovers. And if we've seen Michigan a lot this year, they tend to turn the ball over quite a bit. So that could be interesting. They're going to have to definitely shore that up and not try to give that UC San Diego team some extra potential. Just kind of looking around the bracket, is there any matchup outside of our region that you guys think might be interesting in the first couple of games potentially? I know I kind of highlighted a few just looking at it.
Kansas, Arkansas?
Yeah, I was going to say Kansas, Arkansas. I just saw a UConn falling to an 8 seed and potentially getting Florida in the round of 32 might be a little interesting. I know UConn's been kind of up and down this year, but that's I think Florida's the better team and I think would win that game. But if you're Florida, you're probably not feeling real great that all of a sudden your second game of the tournament you got to play the 2-time defending national champions. Same thing with Houston and Gonzaga falling to an 8 seed. Gonzaga and Georgia in that 8-9 line are both 2 good teams, and if you're Houston, that's not the most comfortable second round game either.
The one that stands out to me in the South region, so our region, Yale, Texas A&M, the 13-4 matchup. Yale always pesky around tournament time, and you could see Yale knock them out. Obviously, if that happens, that gives a favorable draw to Michigan, assuming that they can beat California. San Diego. What is it? California, San Diego?
Yeah, UC San Diego.
Okay. Second guess myself. Cool.
Well, San Diego State getting around there, too, is not helpful.
For sure.
McNeese against Clemson is going to be interesting.
Yep. Yeah.
That's going to be a trendy McNeese.
Who has like 5 NIL deals, yeah.
Yeah, that student manager's gotten more famous than many college basketball players have this year.
He has more NIL deals than probably half the McNeese State team, which is crazy.
Probably. Yeah, I was just going to say, McNeese was a trendy 12-5 upset pick last year, and they were absolutely blown out in the tournament. So, and that was because McNeese was just so good at shooting the three, and they absolutely hit nothing in the tournaments. But it's Clemson, and Clemson doesn't scare me a ton as a 5 seed comparatively.
Doesn't scare
I think
anyone.
Clemson
No.
being the only ACC team to beat Duke is what got them to be a 5 seed.
Probably.
Other than that, they haven't been that impressive this year, to be honest with you.
Allow me to say, if you swap UCLA and Clemson seeding, I would be a lot happier with the bracket. UCLA is a 7 seed, which is ridiculously low in my opinion. Top 4 team in the Big Ten via tiebreakers and Big Ten tournament. All I'm saying, yes, they did get the brakes blown off them by Maryland, but
I also don't think Mick Cronin's going to be real happy having to draw Utah State first round either, because that team's fun to watch. That team can score a lot of points very quickly. So I still think UCLA is the better team, but I don't know, the way Maryland got up on them so quickly the other day, that could turn bad fast for them.
Yeah.
hey, you'll have to wait more than 32 minutes for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't understand that reference,
Watch
Mick
Mick
Cronin was not happy during the Big Ten tournament that he had to wait to go second in press conferences after losing.
Yeah, and
He slightly
Mick Cronin
crashed out at the moderator before the moderator even said a word.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Mick Cronin's just not a happy camper anyway, so this could be an interesting weekend for him if they end up losing.
Yeah.
Maybe pay attention to that press conference.
Don't lose if that's an issue.
Yeah,
Just don't lose, and it wouldn't be an issue.
I agree.
I like the way you think.
So to kind of wind it down here, I'm going to hold you guys to this. This is going to be your absolute concrete lock. Going to happen, probably
Boy.
not, but we're going to try it. Let's pick our Final Fours. So let's have a little fun.
Oh, let me pull up the bracket. I was relying on you to have the bracket in front of you. What the hell, Chris?
Yeah, that's fine. I was going to say I can fill you in on what you need, but
I was just gonna say I need to look at the whole bracket at this point.
While you guys are doing that, I'll go through mine, I guess, real quickly. And keep in mind, none of us have had the chance to really go through and decipher. I will mention I am going to be doing a free bracket pool, so any listeners listening to this, you're welcome to join. I'll post the stuff in the description. A lot of the Spartan Shadows crew likes to join in, and then some of my friends from life are join in, and we try to get some other as many people as possible, I guess we'll say, to join in. So it's free, it's fun, it'll be through ESPN. I'll put the stuff in the description, and anybody's welcome to join. So compete against us, see who's right, who's not right. But just quick glancing, I say that to say that I haven't actually got to go through and pick anything or decipher anything yet. I'm going to probably run through, starting in the East. If Cooper Flag's remotely healthy, I don't see anybody beating Duke. Alabama has the chance, but they've just been too hit and miss. And games when they're on, and games when they're not on, it gets a little dicey for them. So I'll say that BYU team's as a 6th seed in that line too, and also Wisconsin. We've seen what happens when Tanji gets hot, but I'll still say Duke coming out of the East. Out of the Midwest, I'm gonna go Tennessee. I don't think Houston's gonna make it out.
He's about to put 4 SEC teams in the finals.
Unfortunately, I might end up having to do it because I don't really know who's going to stop Florida either.
And you're going to say Auburn for the South, aren't you?
Nope, I'm going to say Michigan State for the South. Call me a homer, but
Homer.
I don't know. It's one of those years where Michigan State's good enough to beat any of these teams in the South, and they're also good enough to lose second round. So that's just kind of how it plays. I think the South might be upset Central as well. So watch me eat my words. But I think MSU has a chance to come out. Auburn will be a tough match for us, but what the hell? Give me MSU.
A few weeks ago, I think this would have been complete talk. To be completely honest with you, Auburn's been struggling recently. I do think you have to go Duke. I think Duke's going to make the Final Four. You just look at the bracket, maybe Alabama can upset them, but they usually typically go kind of cold in one of these games. Mm-hmm. I know, Chris, you mentioned BYU. BYU could be a sleepy pick. I know they just played Houston, but before they were really hot going in there. So if you want kind of a higher seed, possibly like an Elite Eight, I think BYU could be an interesting team. They do have VCU, which is obviously a really great shooting team as well. Wisconsin, I think Wisconsin didn't get a great draw, to be completely honest with you, but if they can get hot, they can make it. Then I'm just trying to see. I don't trust Tennessee. I'm sorry, Rick Barnes. I can't trust you at all.
I know that's the downfall of that. I don't trust Rick Barnes, but I don't trust Houston either.
And you don't trust Matt Painter. He's the 4th seed in that region too.
Yeah,
Kentucky with Mark Pope could be an interesting pick. I'm not going to say this team because I feel like people are going to get upset with me. But if they can actually hit shots, like hit their threes, Illinois could possibly surprise some people. Not Final Four, not Final Four.
They have a Final Four. They have a Final Four ceiling, and that's the banner that they were hanging upside down in State Farm Center as we speak.
Yeah, I'm not Seth Davis, so I'm not going to say Illinois at all. I'm just saying if you look at the talent of a team at that bracket, I think Illinois is one of the more talented teams.
This is the
On
live
that
look
side.
of them hanging their banner for Final Four potential.
Yeah.
I know. I think you have to go. I'm just going to go pretty chalk. Houston, I think you have to go, and then
The Midwest to me is the bracket of I don't trust any team in that.
St. John's.
Houston?
St. John's supposed to.
Houston's lost one time since Thanksgiving.
I know, but
the team I feel most confident about putting Sharpie in for the Final Four. They're going to lose in the round of 32 now that I said that, but
yeah, I was going to say, you know what that means.
Oh yeah, I'm Sharpieing Houston, and I want you guys to know when my Final Four comes on, I'm Sharpieing Houston. Anyway, Zach, continue your Final Four.
Yeah, so right now I have Duke and Houston. I think are probably the two best teams on the right side. I think St. John's could surprise people and make a Final Four run. I would have picked Florida, honestly, but I don't love that UConn matchup. I know UConn hasn't been great this year, but it's Dan Hurley, and he's absolutely crazy. And knowing him, he might pull off something. You also do have Texas Tech, man. Texas Tech has been good this year at the three. Like that's not going to be an easy out either. And then the
nest over there.
Yeah, and then the last. I think I love Michigan State. I really want to pencil them as a Final Four, but I just can't see them being Auburn. I'm sorry. Like if Auburn's there, I know they've been struggling, but Janai Broom just scares the living heck out of me. Their guards, Bruce Pearl, just go watch their interview in the SEC. I'm not going to say exactly what he said. We are a family podcast here, so I can't say what he said, but like he is another crazy head coach with crazy guards. So would love to put MSU in there. I think if MSU makes an Elite Eight, I think it's a good run.
All right, for me,
before you start, Emmett, you know that St. John's MSU Final Four would just feed families to the final score of 41-39.
It would move back. It would move back basketball about 50 to 100 years if that happened. But it would be the best thing ever. Rick Pitino, Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo walks out in a suit. Rick Pitino's wearing his white suit.
When Tom Izzo walks out with a suit, I'll give up press passes for Michigan State. So, I'm gonna say in terms of East Region, give me Duke. It's going to be hard to beat them. I don't trust Bama. I like Wisconsin, and I think they have potential, but Nolan Winter and foul trouble is what scares me. Tanjay going ice cold in the Big Ten tournament scares me because he goes off for 30 and then gets almost. I think every single point he had against Michigan was from the foul stripe this night. Midwest, I'm going Houston. Shocker, I know. But they've lost one time since Thanksgiving. That team has momentum.
That means 8 seed Gonzaga is going to beat them.
Oh, yeah. 8 seed Gonzaga is about to go on to the Sweet 16 just to, flip me off. South region, love Michigan State, and I think Michigan State and Auburn are going to be the Elite Eight. I firmly believe that just with these matchups. I don't trust any other team enough in this region. I'm going to say give me Auburn to put it out there so that Michigan State, so that the juju starts working against Auburn. So give me Auburn. And then the Wild Wild West, I don't trust any of these teams at all. You know what? I'll be bold. I'm not going to go with the all 1 seed. Give me Maryland. 4 seed Maryland goes all the way to the Final Four. I like Maryland this year. I don't like their matchup against Grand Canyon, Memphis, and Colorado State. This 4 for Memphis, Colorado State, Maryland, Grand Canyon is going to be the matchup I am tuned to. I'm very excited for that one.
What if Maryland is only up 1 with about 10 seconds left? They have a player named Trey on the other side. Are you feeling any good about that at all?
Let me go look up the rosters to make sure that I don't have to worry about that. Give me a second. That might change my picks. I'll edit it in the comments after, okay? I'll say give me Maryland as a Final Four team. Do I feel confident in saying that? No. But do I trust any team in the West? No. So I can just throw darts at a board and probably be near it. Because I feel like obviously we do not condone drinking on this podcast, but I'm just going to take shots every time I'm picking a team for the official bracket because I have no clue.
That's how
Just
I
going to
feel
do
about
dizzy darts. I'm going to do dizzy darts for the West region.
Hey, maybe with this podcast we'll get Twisted Teas to sponsor it. So then maybe we'll be sponsored
I'll
by
drink one Twisted Tea per West matchup. What could go
a,
wrong?
a company like that. But like Emmett is saying, we do not condone drinking whatsoever.
We do not.
That's-
Well, drinking excessively.
That's how I feel about the Midwest. I get Houston has been on a run, and honestly, Houston's the best team in that. Obviously, they're the 1 seed. I get it, but I don't trust Purdue in their matchup. I don't trust Clemson in their matchup. I don't trust Illinois on any matchup. I don't trust Kentucky, UCLA, Tennessee. So it's just going to be interesting. Like I think this is, you hear the jokes about it, the made for TV bracket, but some of the seeding, there's going to be some really good games, and there's going to be some really interesting picks. I will say shout out to former MSU Spartan AJ Hogarth. 10 seed Vanderbilt gets to go up against St. Mary's out of the East for the
Shout
right to
out
play
to Jeremy
Alabama.
Fears' brother as well, Jeremiah Fears, and Oklahoma, a 9 seed, which is the biggest shock I had. Jeremiah and Jeremy, no offense, but I disagree with Oklahoma being anything beside the first 4.
Yeah, that was kind of surprising to me too, but they're in.
But they get Hurley and UConn, so if that game turns ugly, I would not want to be a member of the Fears family if that game turns ugly, because Oklahoma is going to get a lot of unjust hate if they do not make a good game against UConn.
You mentioned that West bracket too, the Maryland, Grand Canyon, Memphis, Colorado State. Colorado State's a good 12 seed. In Memphis, obviously, we saw them in the year. They beat MSU. They have a lot of talent on the team, but Tyrese Hunter, we're not sure on his health status. That could be something that affects Memphis. So you could maybe even see a Colorado State Grand Canyon. Seems like it's happened the last few years where you get a round of 32 match between the 12 and 13 seeds or the 14 and 12, whatever. But that could also happen in this region, not to, crap out on Emmett's Maryland pick, because I think Maryland is one of the stronger teams in the.
Oh, I don't trust them. I don't completely trust them. They don't get knocked out in the round of 64. I think they go all the way. But they are just as likely to get knocked out in the round of 64 as they are to go the entire distance. So.
Yeah. And I will say with my MSU pick, it is a little bit of homerish for vibes, but I have been on record. Auburn, I think, is the most complete team. I think they're the best team, but I don't know. For some reason, something doesn't tell me they're winning it this year. Whether that means they make it to the national championship game and lose to Duke, or they just flame out before they get to MSU, or we beat them, or what, I don't know. Something tells me I just don't think Auburn's doing it. So that being said, I don't know who. It's probably Houston because I've trashed them a little bit, but I don't know. It's random. It's going to be an interesting one. I'm excited. We'll probably call that for there now. We'll try to get you some more tournament content before tip-off on Thursday. I know the play-in games happen Tuesday and Wednesday, but we'll just, if anything crazy happens in those, we'll let you know, I guess. But real tournament starts on Thursday. MSU plays Friday. Do we have a time for that yet? I have not looked.
I haven't seen anything. I just know it's in Cleveland. I'll update throughout the week if I'm able to head out to Cleveland. Fingers crossed, obviously. All depends on my other job schedule as well as the NCAA being able to passes. So that's definitely up in the air because it's the NCAA tournament. Very big high ups and officials. It's not as easy as Big Ten, for example. We'll see what we can do for that, and if so, I'll be providing as much coverage as possible for hopefully my first NCAA tournament.
Breaking news, by the way. Clark and Seth over, I think, CBS both picked MSU to come out of the South for the Final Four.
I'm not that crazy, except I don't really like Seth Davis being on my side, but that's okay. We'll see. But I guess I'll close it on the vibes of our good friend Anthony at Spartan Shadows, aka the Real Shardy on Twitter. 5 minutes ago, tweeting, number 1, Auburn has lost 3 of their last 4. Number 3 seed Iowa State down, arguably one of their best players and biggest contributors. Hashtag why not us? So let's get it in there, Spartans. Let's get a good victory. We did record an episode last night giving you our thoughts about the Wisconsin game, and then MSU hockey advancing to the Big Ten championship in yesterday against Notre Dame next weekend. Unfortunately, technical issues have shut us down for that. Emmett and I are going to try to salvage that and still post it. Don't know if that's going to happen. If not, I'll try to get you guys at least some hockey recaps to get you set up for Saturday. But Big Ten Championship at Munn against Ohio State on Saturday. Puck drop at 7:30. Be there, be loud. Zach's going to be there. Say hi to him if you see him. It's going to be another fun one. The atmosphere at Munn yesterday was pretty crazy against Notre Dame. So shout out Trey Augustine, 3rd shutout of the season. Shout out Isaac Howard, 24th goal of the season. Keep it going, boys. And that's what we got for now. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. As always, go green.
Go white.